Proudly broadcasting from the Richard Philip Cavallaro Studio.
WRHU.
Hempstead.
You've discovered
a cornerstone of the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication.
WRHU.
Now, Long Island's largest radio news team brings you the Associated Press award-winning program, Newsline.
Coming up on Newsline, Thursday, October 17th, 2024.
Israel has determined that they have killed a top Hamas leader.
15 are killed in the latest airstrike in Gaza.
Vice President Kamala Harris appears on Fox News.
And Biden is across the ocean in Germany.
In business today, Amazon sells unsafe toys in Europe. Full economic recovery from Hurricane Milton and Helen can happen soon. And big tech looks at nuclear energy for electricity providers. This is Donovan Ellis with your WRHU Business Report.
On entertainment today, former One Direction member Liam Payne has died at 31. A new lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs has been filed, and the iconic punk rock festival The Warped Tour is coming next year. I'm Eyal Tzor, and I'll have all that and more later in today's broadcast.
In sports today, the Islanders are still on the road heading to play the Blues. The Hofstra women's soccer team are heading down south to North Carolina, and the Hofstra men's golf team is gearing up for the ITA Regionals in PA. I'm Jackson Warren, and I'll have that and more later on this broadcast.
Good evening, everyone. I am Brooklyn Doughton.
And I'm Cameron Bowden. We begin tonight's broadcast in Gaza. The Israeli military has confirmed that they have killed the top leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar. Israel has been targeting Sinwar ever since the Israel-Hamas war reignited. The death was confirmed after reviewing DNA evidence following the deaths of Sinwar and two other militants. Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu said, quote, "Our war has not yet ended." He has expressed a desire to prevent Hamas from further fighting, as well as calling for the release of around 100 hostages still being held by Hamas. President Joe Biden said that today is, quote, "a good day for Israel, for the United States, and for the world." He plans on holding conversations with Netanyahu to, quote, "discuss the pathway for bringing the hostages home to their families and for ending this war once and for all." Vice President Kamala Harris also made a statement on Sinwar's death.
This moment gives us an opportunity to finally end the war in Gaza. And it must end such that Israel is secure. The hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
According to an Israeli security official, Sinwar died during a battle, not during a planned attack. Sinwar was held in prison from the late 1980s until 2011. When former Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in July, Sinwar was appointed as the new leader of Hamas. Meanwhile, Hamas has said that the head of its military wing, Mohammed Deif, has survived, despite Israel claiming they have killed him.
At least 15 people have died following an Israeli airstrike on a school in Gaza. Five of them were children. The school was being used for shelter. In a statement, the Israel Defense Forces said that it hit, quote, "a compound that previously served as the Abu Hassan school." They also said, quote, "dozens of terrorists from the Hamas and Islamic Jihad organizations were present." The IDF then listed approximately a dozen names of possible terrorists that they say were using the shelter for militaristic purposes. The number of alleged terrorists killed were not revealed. The attack is considered separate from the one that killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Over 42,000 Palestinians have lost their lives since Israel began their offensive in Gaza last year.
Vice President Kamala Harris called former President Donald Trump, quote, thin-skinned and a, quote, threat to U.S. democracy yesterday during an interview with Fox News anchor Brett Baier. Harris criticized Trump's threats to use the U.S. military to go after his opponents, as well as his rhetoric about the, quote, enemy within, and used those to make her argument that Trump was unfit to be president. Harris also stated that in a democracy, a president ought to be able to gracefully take criticism without threatening to lock people up for criticizing him. This interview was an opportunity for Harris to appear on a news network that has criticized her and praised Trump after Republicans reprehended her for not only appearing on news networks and podcasts that agreed with her.
According to a senior administration official, President Joe Biden is expected to travel to Germany today on an urgent mission to ensure that Ukraine has what it needs to defend itself against Russia. The official has said that Germany is a, quote, critical partner to the efforts of the U.S. to assist Ukraine in defending itself, and that the two countries have been rallying the support of other allies. Biden is also expected to meet with other European leaders to discuss the conflict between Israel and Hamas. This trip will likely be the last one that Biden takes to Europe as president, and the last one before the U.S. election potentially drastically changes the U.S. role on the global stage.
Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance stated yesterday that Trump did not lose the 2020 election. Vance criticized the media, saying that it will only focus on court cases or conspiracy theories. He claimed that large technology companies censored Americans from discussing the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop that had a, quote, large consequence on the election. In the days leading up to the 2020 election, the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop were shared with newsrooms who refused to publish them for fear of a Russian disinformation attempt. Spokesperson for Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign, Matt Corradoni, stated that Vance finally admitted that he denied the results of the 2020 election, and that was the precise reason that Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump selected him as his running mate.
Coming up after your Newsline Specialty Report with Donovan Ellis, a live interview with the Hofstra Votes organizer, WRHU's Dorcas Umaru speaks to people at a Great Writers, Great Readings event, and police have made another arrest in connection to an illegal street race. But first, your Newsline traffic and weather update with Melinda Rolls. WRHU News Time is 5:36.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
It is currently 58 degrees and partly cloudy, a few degrees down from today's high of 60 degrees. Tonight, expect temperatures to dip to a low of 47 degrees with mostly clear skies and some wind gusts in the air. Looking ahead, expect these recent chilly fall temperatures to be replaced by some warmer weather in the next few days. Tomorrow and early into next week, you're going to see mostly full sun and temperatures in the lower 70s. If you're listening behind the wheel right now, let's see what traffic might be coming your way. Southern Parkway eastbound is seeing speeds at 15 miles per hour, so expect up to a 20-minute delay between Service Road and Exit 20 north and south to Grand Avenue. Nearby on Southern State Parkway westbound, between Exit 21 to Pine Street and Exit 18 to Eagle Avenue, you're likely to see just a few-minute delay. I'm Melinda Rolls, and stay tuned for my second traffic update later in the broadcast.
Newsline Business News.
In business today, Amazon sells unsafe toys in Europe. Through 10 online marketers, many third-party sellers have sold 100 toys, with 80% not meeting EU safety standards. These toys include magnets which can puncture intestines and products with toxic chemicals. The products were sold by EU and non-EU traders, including Temu and Shein. While the EU has the strictest toy safety regime in the world, toy makers outside of the bloc are exempt from the EU rules, allowing these dangerous toys to prosper. Still, 6 out of the 10 marketplaces have signed the EU's Product Safety Pledge and promise to keep the safety of their goods at an all-time high. Furthermore, full economic recovery from Hurricane Milton and Helen can happen. In August, Asheville in North Carolina and Tampa, Florida maintained a 3.1% unemployment rate. While the two natural disasters can reverse those claims, the opposite can also happen. These factors are mainly dependent on the amount of aid and insurance coverage that will continue to flow to residents. Another factor is also based on the number of people who intend to move out of the two cities due to insurance rates increases. Still, with hurricanes like Katrina and Harvey eventually providing a nest of new jobs in their respective cities, an economic rebound is possible. Finally, big tech looks at nuclear energy for electricity providers. Over the years, the power source has been viewed as a possible resource to reduce emissions and combat climate change. Now it's being covered to help manage the energy needs of data centers. Due to the growing market in the U.S., experts track the demand will be more than triple by 2030 to 80 gigawatts. Constellation Energy seems to be ahead of the game, though, so far, with reopening 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania for Microsoft, and Amazon is also investing in energy needs in the Pennsylvania area. Google, meanwhile, is buying small modular nuclear reactors in development by Kairos Powers. This has been Donovan Ellis with your WRHU Business Report.
WRHU News Time is 5:39 p.m. Thank you, Melinda Rolls and Donovan Ellis, for those reports. With the election just 18 days away, voter drives and early voting awareness stands have been popping up across Hofstra's campus. Today, we're joined by Dallas Pantry, a student organizer, to discuss the efforts of Hofstra Votes this fall season. Thank you, Dallas, for joining us today. To start off, could you tell us some of the strategies that Hofstra Votes is using to try and generate more voter turnout among Hofstra students?
Yeah, so this year actually we have a big start with early voting site at Hofstra. So we're trying to encourage a lot of students to register to vote with their campus address so that they're able to vote locally in Nassau County on Hofstra's campus so they don't have to go anywhere far. We're also encouraging people to request absentee ballots from their own homes so that they can send them in, and there's plenty of places where you can drop them off on campus and mail them back. And then we have just a lot of free stuff, merch, frisbees, tote bags, t-shirts, to kind of get people in the election spirit.
How responsive would you say that students have been to those strategies?
Very responsive, definitely from like the younger crowd. We have lots of freshmen who have never voted before that are really excited to learn how to register and learn how to get their votes out. And then for the older people, we also have like just more resources. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what absentee ballots are. And we're providing them with all the resources that they need in order to get their votes out this year.
Awesome. So how mobilized would you kind of say that the student body has been feeling? Have you seen that a lot of people have really been registering through you, or have already said that they've been registering, or really are there people who are, less adverse to kind of joining in the early voting craze that we've been seeing?
I was saying just yesterday that we're at the time of the year where a lot of people are already registered to vote. So it's now about registering to vote and making sure that you have a voting plan. I have lots of students that are like, I'm already registered, or I'm not registered. Can you get me registered? But after that, it's also important to have the second step. So when you're registered to vote, you need to have a voting plan. Are you going to vote on campus? Are you going to vote off campus? Are you going to go back home? Are you going to send in a mail-in ballot? And I'm definitely getting a lot of great feedback from students who want and are trying their best to find ways to best suit them for Election Day.
And what are some of the biggest questions or concerns that you have been hearing the most from students?
I think some of the biggest concerns that they have is just whether or not their vote will actually matter. Students from southern states or like typically red states are very afraid that their votes aren't going to count, and vice versa. Students from blue states who have concerns that they feel like aren't being met are really worried about those things. But there's lots of local elections going on this year, even in New York State. So I always encourage people that even if you're worried about the general election, focus on your local ballot and see who's running for your state senate and your state assembly, and really familiarize yourself with their policies so that you can really address the issues that are happening in your hometown. Because yes, the presidential election is important, but the president can't fix the things that are happening in your small town every single day.
Absolutely. Now, our last question today, Adalis, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've been seeing as a student organizer in your efforts to help mobilize students here on Hofstra's campus?
The biggest challenge, I would say by far, is just people being afraid, I think, to come up. I have a great number of students who, are willing to come up and have a chat, but there's also that group of people who like to run away. And I think it's because in the US we have this big stigma against politics, and people are afraid to talk about it. People are afraid that their feelings won't be validated or their opinions don't matter. But I feel like it's really important to have that conversation. The two-party system is the reason why we have a democracy. You can't really vote on things if you don't have opposing views. So I think it's good for us to talk about it and come up with compromises so that we can really see change in our government.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Adalis, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yesterday, famed Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie visited Hofstra University as a guest speaker to discuss her writing. WRHU's Dorcas Umaru has more on her visit.
Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, a Nigerian Igbo chief with the title Odeluwa. Yesterday, Hofstra's Department of English and the Hofstra Cultural Center hosted an event from a series, Great Writers, Great Readings. This event featured Nigerian writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie at the Helen Fortunoff Theater. Many students, community members, and alumni were in attendance. First, Adichie read aloud from her book, The Arrangement, a work of fiction. Then 3 panelists asked her a series of questions. The event ended with a question and answer session. Vice President for Equity and Inclusion, Cornel Craig, spoke about the importance of this event.
It's really about understanding the possibilities of what we can achieve, really following our passion and allowing our stories and our creations to connect with others.
Senior Associate Dean of the Hofstra Honors College, Tomika Robinson, mentioned the master class that Adichie held earlier.
So earlier today, she did a master class for several students, those that are enrolled in English class, creative writing, but also honors college students who are in Black Leaders Advocating for Change, the Black Student Union, lots of different student groups, and really getting to hone in on their questions.
Founding Director for Hofstra Center of Race, Culture, and Social Justice, Dr. Jonathan D. Lightfoot, said that such an event was important to underrepresented groups.
This kind of event is important to the culture of the institution, particularly the culture of the underrepresented groups, the minoritized groups, Black and brown people.
Adichie spoke about how reading for information is important and what it can do for a person.
It's really important for us to go back to getting our information in the form of reading. I think it changes the way your brain works. I think that when you read, you're learning without knowing that you're learning, especially when you're reading literature that you enjoy.
Favor Chibuzo Nweri, a senior studying psychology and neuroscience, criticized the cynicism that many young people experience today.
I know my generation is very cynical, and we love to court cynicism, but I think it is important for us to still try our very best to be hopeful despite a lot of the problems. You know, we still have problems with mass radicalization on the internet.
Lightfoot also explained why it is that good representation is important.
Oftentimes, in a country like the United States of America, where white supremacy is on the table, we have to make sure that this country recognizes its pluralistic foundation, that this country was built on the backs of enslaved people who were stolen from Africa.
The importance of storytelling, information, and hope were common sentiments among those in attendance, as well as proper representation of underrepresented minority groups. For Newsline, I am Dorcas Umaru, WRHU.
Thank you again to WRHU's Dorcas Umaru for that report.
Suffolk County Police have made another arrest last week in connection to an illegal street race that led to a Holbrook woman being injured. According to police, 20-year-old Matthew Mitchell was charged on Tuesday with felony second-degree assault and a misdemeanor of reckless endangerment, among other charges. Mitchell was arrested on Tuesday morning in Kew Gardens, Queens. The unidentified 19-year-old woman from Holbrook was transported to the South Shore University Hospital in Bayshore to be treated for serious injuries. Mitchell pleaded not guilty yesterday morning in First District Court in Central Islip. The bail was set at $200,000 in cash or $400,000 in bond.
An Oregon man is in talks for a plea deal after allegedly threatening to blow up Jewish buildings on Long Island. 31-year-old Domagoj Patkovich of Portland pleaded not guilty to the charges of conspiring to make bomb threats. Then he was arrested several months ago. According to federal police, Patkovich made 6 calls to Jewish hospitals and other facilities between May and September of 2021. Patkovich was arraigned in Brooklyn yesterday.
Cases of whooping cough have been going up in Long Island and across the U.S. According to the New York State Health Department, confirmed cases in Nassau and Suffolk County have nearly doubled compared to the same time last year. Nationally, cases have quadrupled since last year, according to the Center for Disease Control. Some doctors say the reason for the uptick this season is due to better testing methods, waning immunization, and the end of the COVID-era mask policies, which also protected people from whooping cough.
The head of the Regional Emergency Medical Services Council for New York was charged today for having ghost guns. 53-year-old Scott Chiang was arrested last week and now faces charges of criminal possession of a firearm, criminal sale of a firearm, and unlawful possession of pistol ammunition, among others. Authorities raided his home in Queens Village, as well as a storage unit in Port Washington, where they found 18 illegal weapons, including handguns, shotguns, and assault weapons. If convicted of the charges, Chiang faces up to 25 years in prison.
Coming up, your Newsline Entertainment Report with Ayel Tsor, but first, your Newsline Traffic Update with Melinda Rolls. WRHU News Time is 5:49 p.m.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
Well, easing onto Belt Parkway eastbound between exits 19 and 20 to Conduit Avenue and Southern Parkway, prepare for about a 13-minute setback. On I-495 eastbound in Jericho, there is some slowdown starting, so give yourself about an extra 7 minutes here. I-495 eastbound in Roslyn Heights is experiencing some more severe traffic with speeds at only 15 miles per hour, so prepare for a delay of up to half an hour. Finally, on Cross Island Parkway southbound, expect a setback of 8 minutes between exit 29 to Grand Central Parkway and exit 25B to 234th Street. With your final Newsline traffic update, I'm Melinda Rolls.
Newsline. Entertainment.
31 singer and former One Direction member Liam Payne was found dead in Buenos Aires after falling from his third-floor balcony, suffering a serious skull fracture and, according to the autopsy, dying from an internal and external hemorrhage. The hotel staff called 911, reporting that Payne was heavily intoxicated from both drugs and alcohol, acting erratically and trashing his room. Fox News says that Payne was alone in his hotel room before his death. The circumstances surrounding his fall and death are still unclear. In a statement, Payne's family said, "We are heartbroken. Liam will forever live in our hearts and remember him for his kind, funny, and brave soul." A new lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs has been filed, alleging that he and his entourage drugged and sexually assaulted a woman in 2018 as an act of retaliation. Ashley Parham, who filed the lawsuit, claims that it was a form of payback after she told Diddy she believed he, quote, had something to do with the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. This comes after 6 other lawsuits were anonymously filed on Monday. When Parham's attorney Ariel Mitchell asked why she went back to the scene of the crime, Parham said, "Honestly, I don't even have a good explanation." The punk rock festival, the Warped Tour, is returning in 2025. The festival will take over parking lots in 3 cities for 2 days each, starting off in Washington, D.C. in June, then moving west to Long Beach, California in July, and then ending the ride in Orlando, Florida in next November. Attendees should expect appearances from bands like Less Than Jake and Simple Plan, who have become Warped Tour staples with more than 10 appearances each. That's all I got for you today. I'm A. Altsor, and this has been your Entertainment Report.
WRHU News Time is 5:51. Thank you, Melinda Ross and A. Altsor, for those reports. President Joe Biden announced today that his administration's student loan cancellation program has provided relief to over 1 million Americans. The program is up from 7,000 approved Americans 2 years ago, before updates to the plan. The program was first established in 2007, promising student loan forgiveness for public service workers after 10 years of employment. White House officials say that $474 billion have been forgiven under the program.
Excerpts from a new biography on Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell contain multiple critical remarks of former President Donald Trump. According to the biography written by Washington Bureau Chief of the Associated Press Michael Tackett, McConnell made the remarks after the 2020 election. In the comments made in private, McConnell called Trump stupid, despicable, and a narcissist. The biography titled Price of Power will be released on October 29th, 1 week before Election Day.
A panel investigating the attempted assassination of Donald Trump at a Pennsylvania campaign rally says that the Secret Service needs fundamental reform. The 52-page report issued today faulted the Secret Service for poor communication and failure to secure the building where the gunman fired. The report recommends that the Secret Service brings new leadership to refocus its efforts.
The execution of Texas inmate is now in question. Death row inmate Robert Roberson was originally going to be executed from a conviction of abusing his 2-year-old daughter Nikki to death. However, now his fate remains unclear when a Texas House committee met Wednesday night to subpoena Roberson. Roberson's attorney is adamant that Roberts' due process rights were violated to consider additional evidence. While she died of double pneumonia, which progressed to sepsis, she was given 2 medications that further hindered her ability to breathe. So far, though, Roberson's innocence claim remains in the air.
The father of the alleged Appalachia High School shooter says he had knowledge of his son's mental state. Colin Gray, the father of Colt Gray, the man accused of killing 4 people, testified this information in a hearing Wednesday. Among the details discovered was Colt's notebook, which contained drawings that said, "Shoot the teacher first." Colin also revealed he bought the weapon used in the shooting as a Christmas gift, alongside a tactical vest and ammunition. Ultimately, a magistrate judge ruled that there may be enough probable cause for Colin Gray to get 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Meanwhile, his 14-year-old son will be tried as an adult.
Hyundai is recalling hydrogen fuel cell vehicles due to a fire risk. As of now, 1,600 Nexo vehicles have been recalled across the U.S. and Canada. In addition, the automaker is urging drivers to park the vehicles away from structures as a way to dodge a possible fuel risk. U.S. security regulators state that a pressure relief device can break and cause a hydrogen leak, leading to fires. Hyundai will start replacing the pressure release devices on December 10th.
The Archdiocese of Los Angeles will pay $880 million to the victims of sexual abuse dating back decades at the hands of the clergy. According to the Los Angeles Times, the attorneys for the 1,353 people who allege that they had suffered abuse at the hands of the Catholic priests reached this settlement after months of negotiation with the Archdiocese. The attorneys in the Plaintiffs' Liaison Committee said in a statement that there is, quote, justice and accountability. Under the settlement, the plaintiffs will begin a process that will distribute the money among the participants.
A pro-Israel Israeli professor at the University of Columbia was banned from campus after, quote, repeatedly harassing and intimidating school staff. Professor Shai Davide has a temporary ban from campus and was issued about a week ago after he participated in a memorial service on campus for October 7th, where he posted videos online confronting a university official. Davide took offense for the reason of banning, saying, quote, the only professor that was suspended is the Jewish Israeli professor who called out the support for terrorism on campus.
Coming up, your Newsline Sports Break with Jackson Warren. WRHU News Time is 5:56.
From the Philip Cavallero Sports Desk, this is your Newsline Sports Update.
The Islanders are getting ready for their third road trip of the season. They landed in St. Louis for the first match against the Blues. The Islanders are coming off of a 6-2 win against the Avalanche late last Monday night. With their scoring leader Brock Nelson on the ice, the Islanders are looking to capitalize on the Blues and end the road trip with a icy dub. Puck drop is at 8 p.m. For Hofstra Sports, the Hofstra women's soccer team are hitting the road today, heading down south in a matchup against the Ellen women's soccer team in North Carolina. The Pride are on a 2-game winning streak heading into tonight's game. With their scoring and assist leader, Ellie Gouch, the Pride are looking to pounce on the Ellen Phoenix quickly, coming out of their winning streak still intact. Game time is at 7 p.m. On the green course, the Hofstra men's golf team is taking a little trip down south to play in a ITA Regionals in Philadelphia, PA. Good luck to the men and swing with pride. Swinging it to the mound as the Mets are still home to defend the Dodgers in a NLCS series. The series is now 2-1 in favor of LA after a 3-run home run from Shohei Ohtani sealing the deal late last night.
16 out of his last 19 typo numbers. There's a towering drive down the line. Ohtani's broken through. It is gone. A majestic home run into the second deck. 7-0 LA.
Sound courtesy of Fox Sports. The Mets have a chance to tie the series back 2-2 tonight. Game time is at 8:08 p.m. For the Yanks, they are playing the Guardians away right now. The score of the game is 1-0 Yankees. The Yankees are 2 games away from going to the World Series. They haven't been back to the World Series since their 2009 championship win. With the help of Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, the Yankees are looking to strike up a win, getting one step closer to the World Series. With your Newsline Sports Update, I'm Jackson Warren.
That will do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WRHU news team. Engineering our show this evening is All-Star Alondra Nolasco Rojas and the daring Dorcas Umaru.
Thank you for tuning in to Newsline, only here on your 4-time Marconi award-winning radio station, 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.
Access real-time local Long Island, New York, and global news, along with content from WRHU Talent Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 6 p.m.
And tune back in from 7 to 9 Monday through Friday morning for our talk show, in which we discuss Long Island life, national news, and international issues from the minds and mouths of Hofstra students on the morning wake-up call.
Lastly, check us out on social media at WRHU News for behind-the-scenes content.
For Newsline, I am Brooklyn Doughton.
And I'm Cameron Bowden.
Thank you all for listening.
And have a great night, Long Island.